Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Good evening. Welcome. I can see a few people are in already. Good evening, Sade, Elemide. Good evening, Lafiaji's finest. Good evening, Marilyn. Good evening, Andrew. Who else is on this call? Okay, good evening, Amalade. Good evening, Toba. I do want to unmute and introduce ourselves. I'm sure if I leave it to every one of you, none of you would unmute, so I'd rather just call names as I'm seeing on my screen, right? So Lafage's finest, I think you're up first. Do you want to introduce yourself? And why you have joined 100 Days of Growth, and why you have joined this webinar tonight. Do you want to say hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Oluwatoni Anan. And why did I join the 100 Days? I guess that was the template you said, right?
Yes.
I have gone through different levels of coaching with SDJ, but that's not the reason I'm here. The reason I'm here is because I've honestly circled around a couple of things that I want to get better at in my life, and I figured that doing this would help me to get to where I want to be eventually. So this came in at the right time, and I said, no, I'm not going to say no this time again. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, that's good. At least from what I hear, you're pushing yourself, saying, okay, we're doing this, and there's no better time to start growing. There's no better time. I think before I go further, let me first introduce myself. My name is Maya Ajayi. I'm a support coach on 100 Days of Growth with SDJ. And to go on, I think Andrew is up next on my screen. So Andrew, do you want to introduce yourself and why you have joined 100 Days of Growth? Andrew, are you here?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me? It's quite noisy
here. It's okay, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Andrew Edekunu, and I'm an accountant, songwriter, gospel artist, and why did I join 100 Days of Growth? So I have noticed that I'm in a phase where a lot of things are happening in my life, and hearing about 100 Days of Growth and the testimonies that have been shared, I just feel, I sense it's a season of my life where I need to be very accurate as regards what I am doing, and having people talk to me and advise me, like being in a community where I can actually check my growth level and be accountable to people. And seeing this opportunity is really great for me. And that is why I joined 100 Days of Glory, Growth. So I'm ready and I'm excited. So it's actually going to be Days of Glory, actually.
Actually, yes. Well, we're glad to have you here. Thank you for joining. Welcome. Next person on my view is Oluwatofumi Falari. Hello, Tofumi. Do you want to introduce yourself to the house? Good evening. I know you are like one of the alumni of 100 Days of Growth. And of course, I know you're on another level of your growth journey. So do you want to say a bit on what you've experienced so far on 100 Days of Growth? Tofumi, are you here? Tofumi, are you here? Okay, sorry, I'm not sure Tofumi can hear me. Obed is up next. Obed, do you want to introduce yourself? Oh, okay, Tofumi
Sorry.
is unmuted now.
Good evening.
All right.
I'm actually in a noisy place, so that's why.
Not everybody's in a noisy place like this, but we can hear you clearly, though. Do you want to speak for a bit?
Yeah. because I'm actually taking care of my nephew, so that's so sorry, I didn't actually concern. I didn't get the question.
All right,
Let me
so I
introduce
asked that
myself.
you introduce yourself and speak
Okay.
to what you've experienced so far on 100 Days of Growth, because you're an alumni. And of course, you're still on a growth journey, but still you're an alumni. So,
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Oluwatofumi Folari. I'm a fashion designer, a fashion entrepreneur, and 100 Days of Growth. Okay, it's more than 100 days of growth for me. Um, I joined when I was, I was battling with, um, should I say, self-identification, or I don't know, just for me to get myself to know my pace, to be at that peace, like to be at peace with myself. Like, and so 100 days of growth came to me as like a track path for me, where I can just trace and walk on and get to my final destination. I'm not there yet, but I know that I'm on the right path with 100 days of growth with SDJ. So the books, the one-on-one section with R actually helped, and which is still helping me. You know, we might not get it at that point, at that 100 days of growth, but if you sit down later and now reason back, maybe go back to the books, you now understand that, oh, this is what I meant to do. This is what I need to do. This is the growth. This is where I need to grow. So it actually helped me my growth, which is still helping me. Like I always say that it's still helping me. So that's for now.
That's really so good to hear. You said something important that I think everyone needs to pick, that you're not where you want to be yet, but you're definitely on the right track. And I want to add to that growth is a continuous journey. And when you stop growing is when you die. Right? You only die when you stop growing. So the time where you feel like, oh, I've gotten the, by the time you feel like you've gotten there, it's just the beginning of another level of growth that you need to get to, that you need to acquire. So thank you for sharing it with me. We're glad to have you here tonight. We have Obed here, we have Damilola Tijani, we have Oluchi Ejim Madu here, we have Favor Ayola, we have Marilyn. Well, so we do not further take our time. Of course, in the course of the session, if we have more time, we'll have everyone speak. But now we would go to the next part of our session tonight. And the next part of our session tonight is we have Mrs. Inim from Ogo with us tonight. Mrs. Inim from Ogo is an HR expert and also a support coach on 100 Days of Growth. And she'll be speaking to us briefly tonight on faithfulness in growth. And so without further ado, we would welcome Mrs. Ogo to take the stage, right? All right, Mrs. Ogo, we're ready for you, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much, Maya. Hi, good evening, everybody. I hope you can all hear me loud and clear.
Yes, we can, ma'am.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Okay, so not to take any more of our time, we'll be speaking briefly. I was speaking briefly on faithfulness and growth. And so why I picked the word faithfulness. So we know that growth is actually intentional, right? And everyone that is here is on one growth journey or the other, whether 100 Days Community or PT with SDJ or the YLMP, or you're considering joining any of these three platforms or growth communities, right? But we know one thing, that growth is an intentional act. Growth is intentional. Nobody just stumbles on growth. You don't stumble on progress. You don't stumble on success. You don't stumble on growth. If you want to grow, right, then you have to take the necessary steps to growing. And so that is standard for growth. And there's also a part of growth that I think that sometimes we are not self-aware about, and that is the faithfulness that comes with growth. Growth requires our faithfulness. And the difference between intentionality and faithfulness is that being intentional means that you have a mindfulness to the steps, to the acts, to the details of your growth, to the process of your growth, and then you want to take the necessary steps to ensure that you are growing. That's intentionality. Like, for instance, I want to boil a cup of rice, maybe a special kind of rice, right? So if I want to be intentional, it means that I'll first make my research on where I can get the kind of rice I want, and then research on, how to prepare that rice, how many minutes it take me to boil it, where to get it, what kind of salt to use if it doesn't use the normal kind of salt, how long it would take to boil it, that kind of mindfulness. And I mean, you would even go as far as ensuring that your rice does not burn. So you are present while boiling the rice. That is intentionality, right? So boiling a cup of rice that you desire or that you want. Now, faithfulness to boiling that rice is ensuring that whether or not it happens that I make my research and maybe what I got, the result I got said, I could buy my rice in a certain place, and I go there and I don't find it. Faithfulness is loyalty to go back and say, okay, I didn't find the rice there. Where else can I find it? And then doing a further research. So faithfulness in your growth is loyalty to your journey, loyalty to your outcome. And the only time that you can have that kind of loyalty is when you actually do have a vision. So we know that growth is intentional, right? Nobody stumbles on growth. So we all want to grow for a reason. We all desire growth. So I personally believe that every human being desires growth, one way or the other. The only difference is that some respond to it, and then some just think they can wing it all the way. But the results will show for those who respond to the desire and are intentional and are faithful with that growth journey, and those that say, okay, we can just stumble on things along the way. You will always find the results, find the results via the response that people give. So, speaking now to how we can stay faithful to our growth. The first thing is to begin with the end in mind. And that's one thing that I personally learned from reading the book by Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So remember that I said that when you do have a vision, right, it's possible that you are just stumbling on things, that you're trying to be intentional, but it's not working. But you have to begin with the end in mind. So what is the goal of this growth? Why do I want to be better? Many things push us to growth. Sometimes you find yourself amongst people that challenge you and you're like, I want what these people have. I want to be like what these people are, right? I want to be as influential. I want to produce the kind of results and productivity I'm seeing these people, right, flesh out. And it can challenge you and then lead you to a desire to grow. Also, you can be amongst people. Another response is being amongst people that are growing, or concepts that are growing, or seeing growth in a particular form, or seeing results that are not something that you're used to. And instead of responding with a positive desire to grow, we then respond with, that's too much work, that's too much inconvenience. Or we start to get uncomfortable, right? And start to attack rather than step back and see that, okay, people are doing something different and I think I want it. So one thing we need to know is if you find yourself attacking something a lot, you might need to check it. It can be that somewhere inside of you is being challenged and you're uncomfortable. and the way to you respond to that, or the way you know, right, how to cope with that, is to attack it and make yourself feel better. And there's a response to growth that says, I want that, a desire. But beyond the desire is the faithfulness to your growth. So staying faithful, begin with the end in mind. Why do I want to grow? What is the goal in my mind? What is the vision that I have? See, for every vision that anybody has, there is a gap between who you are now and that vision, and that person that can achieve that vision, and that person that can bring that vision to fruition. There is a gap. And that gap is a growth gap that can come in different forms. If we do not define the vision, if we don't have that vision, we can be intentional in doing things based on, okay, oh, I hear there's this program that is being organized by this person, and then you run to it. Oh, I heard another seminar, another webinar somewhere, and then you run to it. And you just find yourself, you're just moving here and there, but there is no direction. And what then happens is you might hit a roadblock and you will stop, because you then ask yourself, where am I going to? What's the point of all of this? But when you can answer, what's the point of all of this, before you start, then it would help you stay faithful to your growth. Begin with the end in mind. What is that picture that you see? And that's why you see, SDJ would say, have a vision board and paste it in your room, or paste it in a high traffic area where you know that you always have to pass that area, always have to have some kind of eyesight of that area. It can be your bedroom wardrobe, it can be your mirror, it can be a corridor, it can be your laptop, it can be your wallpaper, but have that vision board. Begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. The next thing I'll say is have accountability, because sometimes really you get tired and you need that external forcing system. You need that external push, that external pat on the back, that external pulling of ear, like, hello, we have a plan, right? Hello, you have a vision, have a community of people, have accountability. And that's one thing that these growth communities that SDJ runs, that we have here, 100 Days to LMP, PT with SDJ, provides for you. You have a community of people that you can build an accountability system upon. You can just decide to pick 2 people from there and say, I want you to be my accountability partners. And tell them what you want to do, what the vision is. Of course, when you're picking such people, they have to be people that that will not downplay your vision, right? Or it wouldn't be people that will not pat you on the back and say, oh, yeah, I won't do it too much. Even myself, I've not done my own now. Well, calm down. No, you're picking people that that if you say you want to relax, they're literally slapping you on your head that relax, that what's the problem? So sometimes you will get tired. So these people are there to remind you, to help you. Sometimes you want to settle for less and say, okay, I start doing it now, but not just with the same intensity. I know that I said I want to start that business, but let me first start. Let me start next 2 years, and give excuse and all of that. They're like, no. You're not settling for less. Or so I know I said I wanted to have this target audience, but let me start with this smaller group first. And they know that starting with a larger group is possible. And they slap you back and they say, no, we're not settling for less. These things help you stay faithful to your growth journey. Next thing is to identify your growth gaps. So when you know your vision, you know the things that you need to do. Like I said earlier, you're not just stumbling on every material, every seminar, every webinar, every growth course, every course you see online, buy. When we do those sort of mindless buyings, mindless jumping on different programs, right? it just leaves us confused and constipated, like, what am I doing? No direction. So know your growth gaps. Know your growth gaps. It would help you stay faithful to your journey. Give yourself grace. Sometimes you will get tired. Sometimes it will, most of the time, in fact, it might not even be as you envisage it to be, that you plan and say, this I'm going to start, I'm going to finish this on by this time, and I'll achieve this, I'll achieve that. Oh, those are wonderful. When it happens that you don't achieve, or you don't get the expectation that you thought, give yourself grace. Go again, try again. Retrace your steps and say, okay, what did I do wrong? How can I do this better? Did I overshoot? Did I go more than I can right now? Can I take it one step at a time now? Did I try to leap when I should take baby steps? Right? So you come back, give yourself that grace. And then another thing I would like to add as well is staying faithful to your journey is that willpower is great. Willpower is great. As human beings, we have been given willpower, right? Even you see that in a baby that's about to start walking, right? How they do from like some babies from like month 4 or month 6, they're trying to stay on their feet because they've seen adults walk, and they're doing all they can to move from sitting to walking, yeah, and then they go from sitting to crawling and walking. You see that? So it's just in us. We have willpower to want to get things done, to achieve what we need to do, right? The reason why some people then wane in their willpower is experiences that happen, bad experiences, hearing the wrong stories, hearing people's bad experiences that then makes us feel discouraged, like, okay, maybe we don't want to continue with this. But everybody has that willpower. You can see it in babies wanting to walk at all cost. However, as great as willpower is, it's not still enough. So I heard somebody say yesterday that the willpower is not enough. The work upon our shoulders, the vision given to you by God, your growth journey, all those things, they are weightier than what your willpower can carry. And that's the truth. It is weightier than what your willpower can carry. And I'm glad that I have believers here. So now I'm going to say that beyond willpower, there is the part where there is prayer power. Because the vision given to you is not even the one that you just sat down and thought about. It was God-given. And if it was God-given, it has to be God-driven. So everything that will get you to that point where that vision is being actualized has to be done God's way. You know, like he was saying in Galatians, that how would you start a journey? You started with faith in the flesh. It's not possible. You started in faith, you continue in the faith. You got the vision by the Spirit, and by God, you continue by the Spirit and by God. Willpower is great. It would help you get you to a point, but to stay faithful to that journey, because it can get very hectic, you might be discouraged at some point. But prayer, being in tune with God always, would ensure that you're staying and you're faithful to your growth. You're faithful to your growth. Finally, I'll leave you with Philippians 1:6. It's a personal, it's a scripture I use for my growth a lot, right? And then it says, I'll just paraphrase, you can read it later. Philippians 1:6, it says that, NLT version, amplified actually, that God who has started this good work in you is faithful. That's the word that was used that I really, but is faithful to ensure that it is complete in you. Another version says that God who has begun this good work in you will keep at it to mature you till Christ comes. So I'm going to say this: if God is faithful to maturing you and ensuring that you are growing and ensuring that you are better and ensuring that you are becoming more and more like him, if God is faithful to that journey, then it means that you are worth it. So the least that you can do is to stay faithful to the work that God is doing in you and show up on your growth journey. If God thinks you're worth it, if God says you're worth it and is faithful to it, then yes, it is worth going on. It's a journey that is worth embarking on. So I've come to the end of my charge. I hope that you learned a thing or two. I hope that we're encouraged, right? I hope that we picked one or two things that would help us in this growth journey, because it's everything. It's a roller coaster. It's beautiful. It's tasking. It's uncomfortable. It's inconvenience. I mean, all of those things, but it's so worth it. Like, you would look at yourself months back and you'd be like, oh, wow, this is me. Wow, this was me then and it is me now. Wow, you would just be very proud of yourself. So it's a journey that is worth on. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, SDJ, for this platform once again. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ogu. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you. Do we have questions or comments? Any question on anything Mrs. Ogu said that would like to ask? If you have the questions, you can drop them in the comments section in the chat box, or you could just raise your hand and I'll just call you to ask your questions directly. Do we have any questions, please? Anybody? Well, while I would like to believe you're typing your questions. There's something Mrs. August said that was profound, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are like, oh yes, 100 days of growth, we're growing. She said, it's not easy. Sometimes you want to give up. It will stretch you, that stretch part. It will stretch you, but I think it's a good stretch, because when you stretch, you it's like saying you're from point A, you're stretching to point B, which is just a step further in your journey, which is a good stretch. So so it's not going to look like, but they did not tell me, right? But hey, it's not a warning to cause you to rethink, why am I joining this growth family or growth group? No, I think it's more of something to just help your mind prepare for the work, like the hard work ahead. Do we have questions? Okay, while I wait for you to type your questions, I believe one or two persons have questions. I think I'll call on someone else that has gone through 100 days of growth. Oh, we have more people on now. We have Yewande on, we have Innocent, we have Grace, we have one of our sport coaches here as well, Papi Sam. Don't worry, he is on as Adebo Ali Samuel. Yes, so I'm going to call on the next person I see on my screen to just also share what her growth journey has been like. I think I would call Favor Ayola. Mrs. Favor, would you like to share what you do currently and what your growth journey has been like? Okay, to answer your question, Grace, it's going to be on YouTube, and so you can always go back to watch the video from the start. Hello, Favor.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi. I wasn't expecting the call, so.
I know.
Okay, my name is Favor Ayola. I'm a business developer. So how has my good journey been? It's been awesome. I've been taking it one step at a time. SDJ is always in my DMs asking how far. And she's always making okay, so she made one statement that actually made me realize that, girl, you need to wake up and start moving. She said, oh, as long as God liveth, you're fulfilling your dreams and your vision, right? So it's like a wake-up call to me, a push that I have to do what I have to do, because there are people who actually need me to achieve this thing so they can be better for themselves. So it's been amazing. Literally, I've just been going one day at a time, putting in one box in a hole, putting in the next box, in the whole, as it were. And I thank God for the people I have around me who are always telling me, oh, okay, so what's up? I know I'm still owing somebody here like answers to some questions she asked concerning my purpose and vision and growth, what I want to do. So I thank God for them because they put me in line, actually. So I thank God for my circle. They put me in line, they put me in check. So overall, it's just been going great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'll light on something she said, that your growth, one thing SJ would let us understand is your growth is not just for yourself. It's for your community, it's for your immediate family, it's for the country at large, it's for the person next to you, it's for someone you perhaps are yet to meet and you perhaps eventually meet at some point in your life, maybe in 10, 15, 20 years from now. Your growth is not just about you, it's about the next person you're going to help, because SJ would say something that the better you become, the better someone's life out there. So the more you grow, the more you learn. Someone out there watching you from afar or might eventually be a very integral part of your life is just going to benefit from that growth. So thank you, Favor, for sharing. Also, something she mentioned, as 100 days of growth, actually, you have a community. Sometimes they even become like closer, like family, because they're people that you're sharing your dreams with, and sometimes they even run with these dreams even more than you self the owner. The idea is whether you want it or not, whether you are ready or not, we're going to drag you into it. And so you see people asking you constantly, okay, what's going on? How can we help? It's just a community that helps, that supports, and I'm pretty sure as time goes on, we get to experience most of the things we've spoken about and some of the things we're still going to hear. So our next on our agenda is to have, do we still not have anyone with a question before I go to our next point? Anybody else has a question or anything they want to talk about as an addition or something they've noticed? Okay, I would like to believe that everyone understood what Mrs. Annie from Ogo said. So again, thank you so much for sharing, ma'am. Really appreciate you. And of course, we're looking forward to, I'm sure many people here are looking forward to seeing you even as their growth journey begins. So next up, we have SDJ coming up. More like drum roll, the reason why we're here. Yes, yay. So SDJ is going to be speaking to us right about now on maintaining your growth vibe. So without further ado, we would have SDJ speak to us. You can leave welcome message in the chat box. Say welcome SDJ, how you feel about being on this webinar. And we'll have SDJ come up now. SDJ, you have the floor now.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Maya. Thank you, Ininfo. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm so excited to have you all. Yes, thank you. I can see the messages in the chat. And for those of you on YouTube as well, I say thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming for this webinar. I'm excited that you want to learn. I'm excited that you want to make a difference in your life. I'm excited that you have joined 100 Days of Growth. This is actually the opening webinar for 100 Days of Growth, Cycle 4. But then I decided, okay, let's open it up to many more people so that at least you can get an opportunity to learn something that you do not know. I believe that, no knowledge gained is ever wasted, even if you are not a registered member of my growth community or you are not a part of any growth community at all. I believe to a large extent that what you will learn today has the capacity to change you in such a way that you will eventually be that person that will become better and change the world. So today I'm going to be sharing how to maintain and sustain our growth vibe. And I'm going to be sharing my screen at this instance because I've put together a presentation for you. Yes, there we go. So welcome once again. All right, how to maintain and sustain your growth vibe. So to start with, I want to address the people who are part of the 100 Days of Growth. I want to welcome you to great possibilities and welcome you to growth. I also want to congratulate you for taking this step for yourself. Whenever you make a decision to grow, it's a step that you are taking for yourself. Yes, the world will end up gaining from the improvements that happens with you, for you, by you, but it is forced for you because you can't give what you don't have. So you can't bring the change, you can't bring the transformation that you don't have. And I welcome you to greater possibilities in your life. All right, so in the next 100 days, there are 4 cycles of 100 days running. And I put this specifically for those who are just joining the community. That means you are in 100 days 4.0. And our entry level is the 0.0 level. And that's the level where you have the personal growth momentum and you gain a lot of growth, vibe, and energy to push forward in every aspect of your life. Our 0.1 level is the intermediate where we hold an idea or a dream, and then we step into launching that idea or mastering that particular dream. You might, feel like the numbers are a bit confusing, but you will get to understand it. For every 1 you see is cycle 1. For every 2 that's in front is cycle 2. For every 3 is cycle 3, and every 4 is cycle 4. But after the point, 0, 1, 2, 3 also tells us the level that you are in. So it tells us what cycle that you ran your first, what's called now, your first entry level. So when you're done with entry level from 4.0 and you're going to intermediate, you will be running 4.1. You see that? So we have the proficiency level, which is the 0.2 level, and that's for self-mastery and self-leadership. And those are for people who most likely have been through 2 or sometimes 3 different cycles of 100 days of growth. And then we have the tribe building, where we do a lot of legacy leadership, and that's the advanced level. And for this cycle, we're running the advanced level as well. So going straight into what we're talking about today as regards growth vibe, I want to take lessons from the sunflower. And I don't know how many of you, excuse me, I don't know how many of you know this flower, but you're going to learn a lot from it today. And I want to believe that you will never see a sunflower the same anymore when we're done with today's webinar. Okay? So to introduce this flower to you, it's a remarkable plant. And it is known, of course, for its large, very colorful, beautiful flowers. I mean, yellow is so bright. So you can sight a sunflower from afar. But it's also rich in oil and protein. So if you're going through the shelf and you see this, body cream or face cleanser or something that they say with sunflower oil or something like that, then you have an idea why sunflower is in your bottle. And of course, it is an important plant or an important flower for pollinators like honeybees and other insects that are actively involved in pollination. Now, we're going to look at 5 different stages of development of this sunflower, how it grows from the point where the seed gets into the ground and the point where it matures. And the significance of each stage is one thing that we're also going to consider, so that at the end of tonight, you will be able to compare yourself with a sunflower and have a better understanding of where you are in your life, in your development, where you are in your growth. And when you see all that is happening with the sunflower and possibly why the sunflower does what it does, then maybe you're going to be able to pick all of what the sunflower does to be what will sustain and maintain your own growth vibe. And I said maybe because I know that since we are all at different stages of growth, all that a sunflower is, all that a sunflower represents, all the characteristics of the growth of a sunflower might not be applicable to you. But I'm hoping that after tonight, you will get at least one thing one thing that you can take away that will help you maintain and sustain your growth. So the introduction vibe from tonight is that the sunflower, for example, is very showy. So maybe you want to think about, am I showing myself enough? Am I out enough? Are people seeing me enough? It bears seeds. Do you bear seeds at all? It's rich in oil, rich in protein. And because it's rich, it's also useful. So it gets into our, into our food sometimes. It gets into, body cream and also, some other, source of protein for agriculture and all of that. So it's useful. So are you rich? Are you useful? Or at least, are you growing to become rich and growing to become useful? Last thing I want to talk about in the introduction vibe is that it's important to honeybees, important to insects that are pollinators. Are you important? Do you see yourself as important? All right, so we go on now, to these stages, the 5 stages that I mentioned. And when the sunflower seed is sown, it is actually planted in the soil. If you don't plant the sunflower seed in the soil, the chances that it's going to survive after a few days is very slim. Yes, it might end up, starting the process, but the process will not be sustainable. So the stage 1 of it is the stage where it germinates, it sprouts. And this stage, it needs to be in the ground and it needs moisture and warmth to germinate. And in 100 days of growth, the community actually gives you that moisture and warmth. So I'm excited for you that you are here. One thing about this sunflower seed is that immediately gets into the ground, it begins to absorb water and nutrients. It doesn't wait at all. So don't wait from this moment, from your first day. Officially, in fact, tomorrow is your day 1, but I'm excited for you that you're not even in day 1 yet and you're soaking it all in tonight. And I want to say congratulations to you. So remember, it has to be planted in the soil. And I'm excited that you are planted in the growth community. For those of you who are joining us who are not members of 100 Days of Growth community, I really hope that you're planted in a community that can help you to grow. So still on this first stage, which is the sprout stage, the seed coat actually splits open. And when that happens, the root comes out first before the small flower begins to come out, before the shoot comes out. It puts its root out first and pushes its roots down into the soil before it attempts to begin to shoot any form of leaves up. What is significant about this stage is that it marks the beginning of the sunflower's life cycle. And I'm excited for you as well, that this is the beginning of a new cycle of growth for you. And congratulations once again that you are part of this community. Now, what is the vibe sustainer in the stage 1? Number 1, it is planted. You have to be planted to grow. It germinates. It doesn't just stay in there and slip off in the sand. It actually goes ahead to germinate. I want to, speak to those who are in the Zoom call, and it seems like your network is logging you out severally. Maybe you can go to YouTube and see if it will be better for you, okay? So the growth vibe for this stage 1 is that it germinates. It doesn't just sleep in the soil. Don't sleep in the community. Don't sleep in your small groups. It absorbs nutrients immediately. Begin to absorb. Be open, split open, separate yourself from all of those other things that used to distract you. Some of us have gotten into a lot of busyness, so much that we don't even know that our lives are already clogged so much we can't split open to allow our shoots to come out. Separate yourself from what is unnecessary. And of course, push out your root first. It's not the time to begin to shout, oh, have you seen me now? Oh, I'm now in 100 days of growth. Oh, look at this and that and that. Yes, I'm excited for you that you're excited, but make sure that your root is going down first and you are ensuring that you're grounded first before you attempt or try to begin to push your shoot out. Now to stage two. Stage two is the seedling stage, where we now say we've left the seed and it's a young plant. But this young plant actually continues to grow out of the soil and continues to lift up. The leaves come out looking, slightly pale and weak and all of that. This first set of leaves. And yes, exploring what is around and all of that. But at that point, the stem will begin to thicken, and of course, the roots will begin to expand and go deeper. So you will get to a stage in your growth cycle that you will now say you're stronger than you used to be. It's not just a tiny little root now. Your roots are getting into different places and absorbing different kind of nutrients. It means you're growing capacity, and that is expected of you in these 100 days. One thing that is important, very important about this stage, is that this stage marks the establishment of this plant and sets the foundation of its future growth and development. At the initial stage where it's still sprouting, it is almost like a 50-50. Is it going to survive? Is it not? And not? But at this point, the foundation of its future growth is set. If anything happens to it at this stage, it might end up being, a twisted, bent sunflower for life. And it might be that something has happened to you in the past, at the field, you're looking forward to having a future that is different from your past. Congratulations, because you're also planted in good soil now that at least gives you the opportunity to lose whatever negativity you've had in the past and then step into the new experience. And that's why, I want to say thank you again to Mrs. Ogu for what, she taught us tonight. You have to be faithful. You might have had bad experiences, but be open to the new. Be open to the opportunities that are before you right now. Okay, so the vibe sustainers of this second stage is that it continues to grow. It's still young and tender, but it doesn't give up on itself. And it continues to develop gradually. One more leaf. It's not exactly so strong, but it keeps thickening its stem and ensuring that the strength it has in its stem is able to sustain the height with which it's growing to. So don't, be quick to say, oh, I want to show off, and you're not growing support for yourself. Growth means that you are also in a support system, and I'm excited for you that 100 days of growth gives you that opportunity as well. All right, so to the third stage now, that's the vegetative growth or the burden stage. Sometimes both of them also happens at the same time, but together it happens. It's growing a lot of more leaves, more getting taller, stronger stems, larger leaves. The color of the leaves now get deeper at this stem because it's more sure of itself. The shape is more definite and all of that. And that is a level that you get to, more confidence in your growth. But at this stage, it just looks like, is it a flower or not? You can't even say it's a flower yet, but it doesn't stop. It continues to develop its branches, produce additional leaves, and make attempts to produce the flowers that it will eventually beautify the world. And this stage, one of the significant things about it is that it prepares the plant for the flower. So you will see that there's a bit of a difference in this and this. But what happens, in the images, that's what I'm showing. But what happens is that in the course of the leaves forming is when it's also begins to prepare itself for reproduction. And the reproduction stage means that it is preparing itself to replace itself. It's preparing itself for survival. In the case where something happens to it, the seed that it produces will continue to replicate its own kind of species. So the vibe sustainer at this level is that it continues yet to grow. It produces more leaves. And I want to speak to you, don't get tired. It might look like you've been repeating the same thing over and over. Mrs. Ogu spoke to us about faithfulness. Be faithful to it. Keep producing the leaves. Keep producing the leaves. Because when you produce the leaves and the stems grow stronger, that is when then you will begin to see your flower begin to bust out and begin to grow out before it now becomes that beautiful life that you want. But more often than not, we want the expression, we want the result, but we forget that processes, things need to happen. And of course, a vibe sustainer here is also reproduction, because it is anticipating reproduction. It prepares itself for reproduction. It ensures that its branches are strong enough to hold the flower up, because if the flower is also down, then there won't be any insects finding it and then, helping to pollinate it and helping to ensure that the process goes on. So in the fourth stage now is where the flower blooms. And this is the flowering stage. And the flower only develops at the top, the very top of the stem, the very top of the stem. It could be from 2 inches to 12 inches. And I intentionally wanted to say that because, yes, I might be growing at 2 inches level. You are growing at 12 inches level, but it doesn't change the fact that we are all sunflowers and we're blooming. We are at our flowering stage. We're not in this community to compete with ourselves or to compare ourselves with ourselves, but we allow everybody to grow. And that is the right environment that you can grow in, an environment that allows you to be you, to be the best that you can be as you. But one interesting thing about the flowering stage is that the flower turns its face towards the sun as the sun moves across the sky. So it is into the direction of the sun when the sun rises. And then when the sun is setting, it's on the other side. That is how intentional, how sensitive to light that the sunflower is. And that's how it got its name, sunflower, because it's always following the flower. The large, bright flowers now attract the bees, attracts the insects that will pollinate it. Because without the pollination, there can't be the production of its seed. So you will see this image of sunflower that I've put out here, that the center looks kind of, it has some brown stuff, but the seeds are not exactly there yet. And this reproduction that happens here, this fertilization, if you want to call it, from the pollination, it is what ensures the reproduction. It's what ensures that it produces the seed. And the seed now is now used for food. The seed is now used for oil. And of course, you can always go ahead and plant the seed again. So if for any reason something truncates the growth of this plant at this stage, what it would have only provided is beauty to the world. It will not have been useful as regards for food or, for protein sources, useful not for oil or for skin, but, not useful to produce another generation of itself, but it would have beautified. And this is also to encourage you not to truncate your growth process. The fact that it's looking beautiful and flowery now does not mean that you have reached the best place that you can be. There's still more that can come out from you. And I don't want you for any reason at all to settle for less. So the vibe sustainer of stage 4 is that flowers will develop only at the top. At the top. And I want to liken this to high thinking, not low playing, I just want to be in this low place. And I absolutely love all that Mrs. August said tonight. And she didn't even have an idea what I was going to share. No playing in low grounds, no settling for less. You've got the capacity to do 10, go ahead and do 10. Don't say because SDJ is just on 2, I've tried now. No, if you have the capacity to do 10, go ahead and do 10. That, parable of the talent, the guy who had 5 talents did a 5-talent kind of job and he doubled it so that he had 10. If he had only doubled 2 and left 3 not doubled, at the end of the day, it would have had 4 plus 3, that's 7. And it wouldn't have done as much as the 2-talent guy who went ahead to make his talent 4. So even at the end of the day, the 2-talent guy doubling making 4 looks like, oh, you just have 4, I have 7, I've done better. But no, you have not multiplied every gift. every skill, every capacity that you have. So don't settle for less. You've got a high-paying job now. Don't say, oh, my colleagues or my mates, my age mates don't even have this kind of job. When my father was my age, he was still not. No. You do not compare yourselves with other people. You face your own track. The Bible says those who compare themselves with themselves are not wise. Yes, you can look at other people and use it to judge how well you are doing, looking for some level of standard to check whether you are pushing yourself at the right level. But the best person to compare yourself with is yourself. Are you going to bed tonight better than you woke up this morning? Then you have become better. Okay, so the flower, or at this stage as well, the vibe sustainer, the flower attracts pollinators. So you need to learn to attract people who will bring positive reproduction to your life, who will pollinate and help you to get seed. You have to be open. Oh, I want to grow by myself. Oh, don't worry, I can't join the community. I'll just sneak in here and watch this webinar and go and do it all by myself alone in my room. When you don't cross-pollinate, at the end of the day, you will be limited. If you're not attracting your pollinators, if you're not setting yourself up with good character, with a nice mindset, rightly positioning yourself, you won't be able to attract the pollinators who will help with your seed development. And of course, one vibe sustainer here is that it turns to light. Turn to light. When you turn to light, you maintain your vibe, you sustain it. And light is knowledge. Light is the word of God. Light is God himself. And Mrs. Ogo absolutely said it. You have to pray about it. God gave you the vision in the first place. And when you talk vision, it's still light. God is the one putting that desire to be better, desire for growth, desire for increase inside of you. Turn to the light. That is how your growth can be sustained. That is how you can maintain that stamina. That is how you can continue to get better and better and better. And of course, there's the usefulness here. Usefulness from the fact that it beautifies. Usefulness from the fact that from the moment it produces its seed, it begins to have oil, it begins to produce protein and all of that. So the motivation for the coming usefulness is also a vibe sustainer here for the sunflower. It's looking forward and anticipating how it can change the world. Are you looking forward to that? Are you looking forward to the difference it can make in another person's life? A better you will certainly lead to a better world. Okay, so we go on now to the stage 5, which is the seed production and the ripening stage. And you can see from the image that the color of the center has changed. The seed is there right now, and the leaves and the flowers, the petals are not as wide and flamboyant as they were. Before the pollination, they want to attract all of the insects possible. But now that the seed is there, is thinking, coming down. We don't need pollination anymore. We need to think about what is happening inside of us. We need to keep our heads low and allow what has already been sown in us to germinate, to ripen, to get to its maximum potential. The flower produces the seed, of course. However, the petals fall and it might look like, oh, I used to do this, I used to do that, or people used to celebrate me and all of that. But when you are the boss of a particular level, if you move to a higher level, you might not be the boss at that time. At that time, you are reporting to 2, 3, 4 people who are, on different levels, who are also bosses in that level. That means you need to put your head down. It's not in shame, but it's in humility. It's in readiness and willingness to learn. You will get into your communities and you might feel like, oh, I'm more intelligent than my support coach. I'm doing that. But I assure you that your support coach understands what it takes for you to get to the next level more than you understand right now, because he or she has been trained to do that. So petals might fall off. The head of the flower turns downwards. The seed is maturing. You need to allow yourself incubate sometimes. It's not every time shouty, every time being on top of the world, every time laughing everywhere. Sometimes You need those moments, and it shows that you're mature when that is happening. And you see that that happens at the final stage, at the fifth stage, the seed production ripening stage of the sunflower. Okay, so after the flower has been pollinated, of course, sorry, this is a repetition. And then the stage 5, of course, the seed continues to grow until they are fully ripened. And this marks the end of a life cycle. It marks the end of a life cycle of a sunflower. And of course, it means that because a lot of the seed has also been produced, it is the beginning. It's a new stage for another generation of sunflower to come out. And the reason why I've also used the sunflower, to do your introduction for your opening webinar is that in 100 days of growth, we try to start. You gain all the momentum, the cycle ends, you take a time of rest, and then another cycle begins soon after. And that is how the life cycle of a sunflower is. Interestingly, the sunflower takes about 120 days thereabout to get into the full maturity. But at least for us as human beings, we can run through this cycle in 100 days, ensure that we get to that seed stage, ensure that we get to that place where we're incubating our dreams, our ideas, the changes, the character development and attitude, the tribe that we're building, the mastery that we're gaining. 100 days is enough, I assure you. But you need to know that there's the cycle. You don't run on energy consistently. You need to start and allow yourself to rest, and pick up again and allow yourself to rest again, and pick up again and allow yourself to rest. And if you're running your 100 days of growth cycle 3 times actively in a year, you will have such a productive year and 65 long days of rest. I doubt it if any one of us is even taking 65 days of rest. Offices will probably give you 1 month or 20 working days or something like that of your leave. And this shows you that if you're actively getting involved with what is required in your life, you will have enough time for your rest. And of course, you will have the energy and the strength to build again the next cycle and the next time. So the vibe sustainer of this level is that, of course, it produces seed. You need to produce seed. It's not about your color, the money you're going to have, and the shout and the vibes and the accolades and the spotlights and the noise, and no substance. The seed is the substance. The seed is what can outlive you, what will certainly outlive you. The seed is what you can leave for a future generation. The seed is what is left, what people remember when you're no more there. And of course, the flower turns downwards. And this, like I mentioned earlier, it's a turning downward of humility, turning downward to protect what you already have, turning downward to rest and take some time off. If you're not doing this, your vibe will not be maintained or sustained. Okay? So to conclude all of these beautiful things we've said and saying about the sunflower, it has its own distinct stages of growth from seed germination to a mature plant. And this shows that whatever stage you find yourself, maybe right now you're like, SDJ, is there anything before the seed? Because currently right now, I cannot even see seed in myself. Well, I want to assure you that if nothing, tonight has sown a seed inside of you. Listening to this webinar, being here, watching it, has sown a seed inside of you. And that means your own process can also start right now. Your seed germination process can start right now. And you have to see that process through to maturity. Okay? One other thing that I want to say is that each stage of this growth, as we have seen in the sunflower, is unique. Changes happen in it, different milestones. And this is also, speaking to your goal setting. When you get into your groups and we're setting goals and we're pushing you higher into the next level every time, it's because you can't have the same milestone from beginning to end. You're at a level now where we need to push you harder for some of you. For some of you, we're still warming you into the concept and idea of growth and, developing yourself and personal development and all of that. But for some of you, you have reached a milestone where you need to be pushed hard. You should be ready for the work. At every stage, the sunflower does what is required, whether, from a developmental point of view or from a change point of view. Finally, when you understand your growth, when you understand the stage that you're in, when you understand the level that you're in, it helps you to appreciate how amazing a person you are. It helps you to appreciate how fantastic you are being all the while. It helps you to see the important role you're playing in this world. It helps you to see the emptiness that will be in the world if you are not there. Because you're such a beauty. Because there's so much greatness inside of you. And for every time you're playing less, the world is missing out on something. Okay? So if you're here tonight and you're yet to sign up for 100 Days of Growth, well, today's the 30th day of April 2023, which is the final day of registration. You get an opportunity to still do it. Go to the website, check it out. Register for it, or at least plan to be in the next cycle. But I want to advise you, don't procrastinate your growth. Don't procrastinate when you're getting into the soil or when you're developing more leaves or strengthening your stem. Don't procrastinate when the sun is turning and you're like, I'm coming, sun, you can be going, I will meet you. No, you don't want to do any of that. Get on it right away. Get on it quickly. Gain your growth momentum immediately. Uncover new possibilities in your life today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Thank you. I hope you gained something, and I'm excited that I got the opportunity to share this insight about the sunflower with you so that you can learn to sustain and maintain your own growth vibe. All right. Any questions right now?
All right, thank you, SDJ. Thank you. Now it's time for questions and answers. Do we have any questions for SDJ? If we have any questions for AJ, now will be the right time to ask. Do we have questions? For people that have run the session before, or for our new and prospective members? Do you have questions for SDJ? Lafia's finest. Innocence, do you have any question? Everyone is quiet. Are we saying nobody has a question? Not that nobody's asking.
From my side.
Okay, Odichi said thank you, SDJ. Or do we want to type our questions? People. Okay, I think.
Thank you, Luchi. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, so I guess no questions then. Or anybody has a comment, a confirmation, whether or not you're in the 100 Days of Growth cycle. Yes. Maybe we can also check if we have anything on YouTube. Oh, someone said the Zoom was covering the website link. Okay, I can see that on YouTube. I can see that on YouTube. I'm going to get the link for the person.
I was connected to the car. SDJ, does anyone have any questions for SDJ? Insightful, thank you. Oluwafumike said it was insightful. Does anyone else have any comment or questions they'd like to ask? This would be the great time to ask SDJ your questions. All right, sir. You wanted to say something, Lafayette's finest?
I said no, nothing from me. Nothing from me.
Okay. Anyone else?
Are you
Anyone?
fired up? Are you ready for this?
I mean, too many tables have been moved tonight. Let me not even say broken. So I don't have a choice. Too many tables. But I mean, yes, it was very insightful. In Infon's Mrs. Ogu's session and then the sunflower thing. I had no idea about the whole sunflower thing. And it was just like, mind opening, and I was sitting down there wondering, no way. But then again, yes, thank you so much. I had a great time.
Thank you very much. We are excited to have you in 100 Days of Growth, and we're looking forward to the growth we're going to have together. Everyone who has run the 100 Days of Growth cycle knows that I'm not just the lead coach, I'm also a participant myself, because I certainly cannot be coaching you if I'm not growing, right? So we are all going to grow together. And at the end of 100 days, we're looking forward to the fantastic us that will emerge with all the goals that we would have been able to achieve and the changes that we would have been able to make in our lives. You see that? All right, I have comments on YouTube as well. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I see you. I see Philua, Esther, Susan, Lawal. Thank you, everybody. Vincent and Jibola, I hope you have the link now. I shared it with you already. You said you don't have a question. You just need the link to join the challenge. Lawrence and Jibola, thank you as well. Okay, so if there are no questions, I guess we can call it a night. I believe it's been a very remarkable one for you. It's been for me as well. Thank you so much. And for those of you who are in the 100 Days of Growth, I will certainly be seeing you. And this week, of course, you hear from your support coaches, you receive your materials, and you get right to work. So welcome to Growth and Possibilities. All right, people. Thank you so much. And bye for now.
Bye, SDJ.
Bye, everyone. Well, on this note, we have come to the end of tonight's session. And like SDJ said, we would continue and you would hear more from the support coaches. And of course, you'd hear more from SDJ once the 100 Days of Growth starts in a few hours officially. Thank you so much for joining. I hope good time. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.